Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's all right. Just check this if everything is okay. Bring up a few pages here. IBI space. Schedules. Preum. We'll see that propagation is good. So, thank you, Blogger Die. Okay. I think everything is going to be fine. Welcome aboard, guys. It's really hot this week here in Montreal. We've had 90s plus all the humidity. It's been crazy. It's actually so hot that even my air conditioning has a hard time keeping the room cool. It's just crazy. But we are supposed to have some cooling temperatures coming this week, starting Monday. So it's going to be welcome because it's really too hot right now. Okay. So, hey guys, welcome aboard. This is the monthly live show that we have every first Saturday of the month. And hope that you all enjoy the show today. We, of course, are located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. My name is Gilles, and I am here to have fun in what is essentially a solitary hobby, where we are often alone in our little man caves, doing our radio listening, our shortwave listening, and pretty cool to be here today. There's a chat room if you want to join in. Lots of fantastic people in the chat room that are always great. I think we have one of the best groups ever that talk about radio. Take a little sip here of my, it's a cranberry beer. Not bad. And of course, you also can join the Facebook group, which has the same name as the official SWL channel. And it's a place where, well, people share what they're listening to, radios they're using, and so on. And so this is great. I think it completes each other because when the live shows are not there, at least people can share on the Facebook group. It's quite a lot of activity on it. We're almost at 4,000 members on the Facebook group. And we are very close to getting to 50,000 subscribers here on the YouTube channel, which is pretty nice. So cool to have all of you around here, and hope that we will have fun today. So, what will we talk about today? Well, I think you guys know that we'll probably be talking about this beast, which is the Texan S2200X. And was thanks to Anna from Anonco for sending me a review unit for free. And I got to say that as we talk about radios, Texan has a lot of radios they've released over the years. And there's often a little something, not right or something that they fix. And of course, one of the ideas behind this was to have me review it and also send comments in to Anna so that she can actually tell Texan any flaws or any problems with the radio that they need to fix before it actually gets on sale. And it will be released in September. And it's interesting to see that after they've said with the PL990, H501X, that there would not be any other high-end radios. that they've decided to do a new one, which is a higher end radio, and it is light years better than the original S2000 that has so many flaws. So I'm going to talk about it a little later, and if you guys have questions, we'll answer them also. So I'll quickly go through the chat room here, and then maybe get into the radio subject here. Before we continue, don't forget that if you give a donation through either the super chat here, or donations can be also sent through PayPal at this email address. There we go. And you will be part of the next Zoom meeting. Anybody that has or makes a donation will be part of the Zoom meeting in mid-September around. If we look at the dates, I probably will make it on September. Let's check it out here. Saturday, September the 14th, possibly 14th or 21. Will depend on, but probably maybe the 21st would be kind of nice. The 21st will be near the autumn. We're near fall, so here in the northern hemisphere at least. So cool. That of course is for any donations of any amount that will be done either through the super chat or through the Yahoo email that I've just posted, which helped me get new radios and all sorts of cool things. So Jay Watterson 69, nice to have you on board. Matt in Denver, Colorado. I'm DK2. Nice to have you here. It's pretty hot where you are, from what I see. Master Players Radio and Television. Nice to have you on board. Bobby Burgess in Louisiana on a WA5107 SWL. London 1965-7. Nice to have you on board from Northeast Pennsylvania. And we have, thank you for the tip, Master Players. Papier Écriture, nice to have you on board. David's Radio Room, nice to have you on board from Central Georgia. James Farley, KD2GUZ from New Jersey. J Projects from San Diego, California. Rotten Animal, nice to have you here. Blog or Die, from sunny Virginia. Rob's Radio Channel, nice to have you on board from the UK. We have VT Radio, Paul, AA1SU in Northern Vermont. Nice to have you here. Richard Wagner, nice to have you on board from hot and humid Northeast Illinois. Chuck Schreiber, nice to have you here from South Texas and 5 KVO. We have Volts, nice to have you on board, and from Latvia, and congratulations on that QSO on 6 meters with VO1 HP. I saw him on 6 meters several weeks ago when I was looking at 6 meters. That's pretty cool to see. I've never made personally a contact with Europe on 6 meters. I've made contacts up to Chile in South America, which is pretty cool and a pretty good distance for 6 meters, but never with Europe. And I know that my half-wave end-fed is not great on 6 meters, so I need to set up something better. So it's pretty cool. DX Winger, nice to have you on board from Southeast Pennsylvania. Shortwave Archive, nice to have you on board from Colorado. We have Estrella Garcia, nice to have you here. Signal Intelligence Guru, Thunderstorms in Chester, Virginia, nice to have you on board. Keegan DXer, nice to have you here from Northwest Arkansas. Ricky, nice to have you here. Bonjour, j'espère que tu vas bien. From, I would guess, Alberta, Calgary, Alberta. RJ Dakota, nice to have you on board. And Don Royal, nice to have you on board. WA7330WL. 109 degrees in Sun City, Arizona. That is way too hot for me. Glenn Danzler, nice to have you here from South Carolina. Andrew Ross, nice to have you here, Andrew. And happy to do so. Happy to do the review and test it out. Really, really happy also that Anna from Nonco was really nice in sending me a review unit. It's kind of not everybody does that, and it's really nice to check it out. Um, and Andrew Ross says hello to the cat. He's outside. For some reason, he seems to like it better outside in the hot weather than inside in the air conditioning, which is kind of interesting. I guess he likes the hot weather. David's radio room as a root beer float. That's good. It's pretty good. It's really good when it's hot too. Shortwave Archive says, what do you think about the US AGM cuts? It's about the same as I would say about the cuts at the BBC, which I find short-sighted and really, really a bad decision in the context of everything that's happening around the world right now. It's rather dumb, personally. I think somebody somewhere is not seeing the big picture. I know that all of these stations, the BBC World Service and Voice of America, have FM outlets within some of the countries in Africa, and I get it that that must work well when the country is not having any problems. But when a country has issues, they easily shut down. They easily shut down the FM outlets to prevent them from talking about whatever they don't want to, and that's what's happening in many African countries right now, where it's not going very well. So this means that if you don't have a local outlet, and if they shut down, because they often do shut down the internet also, what you're left with is, unfortunately, with shortwave. Shortwave's the best that you could do in order for um, listening to anything else, that listening to the news coming out of outside your country to learn what's happening. So by shutting down a lot of the shortwave outlets right now, and same with the BBC, you will have a lot of people left behind that have absolutely no access to any news. Any news. And radio is pretty big in Africa. The recent surveys that I've seen show that people listen to the radio a lot. And unfortunately, if your local outlets are shut down because they just want to have the government, the country's government voice only, a lot of people are going to be out and not even know what's happening. I don't know how many times I've read, people in some of the countries that are hardest hit right now with war and all sorts of problems. They get news of what's happening through international outlets. And that is, I don't know, we're leaving the world. And that, I think, is the biggest danger right now. We're leaving the world, a part of the world, on their own. And without outlets like the BBC, Voice of America, and so on, you are going to have people that will just not know what's happening, and will get their own government's viewpoints only. And this is kind of dangerous. You want to have international voices so that you can balance out the fake from the true news. And Unfortunately, by having these cuts, that's going away, which is, once again, it's very short-sighted. I think people don't understand. A lot of people in the broadcasting industry today don't seem to understand, um, you know, how useful these voices are. It's the same with local radio here in Canada with Chorus that's cutting stations and jobs everywhere. You're just kind of saying, well, finally, you don't know what radio is all about. You're cutting the local voices in big major market cities, putting some syndicated, national show, which is not what people want. And it just makes me feel like they don't know how to do radio. They don't understand radio. Blogger Dive says, oh, look, a big radio, a large radio. David's Radio Room. Wow, if 50,000 subscribers would show up at the same time, I'd be scared to look at the chat room. Don Royan says, ordered a Shoyang LC90 radio. Hope to have it this Tuesday. And they're going to have the update soon for the firmware to 4.6 because they're still testing it, which will improve the radio quite a lot too. So that's something that I'm looking forward to, the new 4.6 firmware. Because right now there's a few things on the internet radio side that are kind of, awkward, and they're supposed to make some of that better, and a better way of searching for stations on internet radio. Shortwave isn't too bad. Hopefully, I'm crossing my fingers. If they could fix the single sideband flaw with 4.6, I would be very happy. That radio would become a decent shortwave radio suddenly. Right now, it's the biggest flaw for the radio side is really the problems with single sideband. Brad, nice to have you on board from Amarillo, Texas. Joe Walker, nice to have you here. Hooked on Radler beer myself. Make it with grapefruit. Oh, interesting. Ricky, just water over here for now. May graduate as we go along. Marvin Motz, nice to have you here from the Japan Islands. We have Matt says it's not beer o'clock yet. Yeah, I guess it's not beer o'clock yet. And this is I usually have a rule that I do not have any alcohol before 5 p.m. On every day. Now it's 4 p.m. in a live show, so I took an hour earlier, but it's okay. What else? Dirk Boone, it is way overpriced, and no one who already has a previous version will buy it. If it had a redesigned case, maybe. So first of all, you don't know because we don't know the price. The price that's on Texan, Australia is not the price you check for. Anonco has not put a price yet on the radio. So we don't really know the price. I suspect it'll be around 350, 350 in there. And as for the original, I've already have at least a dozen guys that told me in comments on the channel that they will upgrade from their old to the new one. So I think they did a good decision. I think that they are just surfing on for making, first of all, the price as low as possible so they don't have to redesign the case. And they are using a case that's a known good seller because people like it, like the way it looks. So the only problem I think will be people might see it and will not notice that it's actually a new radio. I've had so many comments on the channel saying, yeah, but I have that radio. I've had that radio for 10 years. No, look carefully. it's a 2200X, not a 2000. So there could be people fooled and not really knowing there's a new one. All right, to Rob's radio channel, we'll go for the 21st, Saturday the 21st for the Zoom meeting. Sand Plasma, nice to have you here from Chicago. Jeffrey Naylor, nice to have you here. Bought Ethon Elite 750 about a year ago and was not impressed with the reception, even with the MLA30 loop. Yeah, well, the problem with the biggest problem that maybe didn't impress you is the wide filter being too wide. You have a lot more noise with the signal because that filter measures like 14 kilohertz or something. It's crappy. The wide filter is crappy. Plus, it's off frequency by about 2 to 3 kilohertz in the wide position. So all of that together probably didn't help. You have to use the radio almost always with the narrow filter, which makes it, makes the audio like kind of, without higher frequencies, it makes the audio kind of bad. So you got to detune slightly to try to get a little more audio on the original. And I've honestly, the original S2000, I reviewed it. I don't think I've used it more than once or twice since I have it. And for a simple reason, it's crappy. And I prefer using my other radios like the Texan PL990 or any other radio actually. But it looked cool, and that was the only thing mostly. But the new one, I think I'm going to use it quite a lot. The new one is definitely much better than the S2000. It, like I said in one of my videos, it feels like a Texan PL990 with added airband and a few other bells and whistles by adding treble and bass buttons and so on. TVDXer, ça va bien? J'espère que tu vas bien toi aussi. Jeff King, nice to have you here from Jacksonville, Florida. We have Steve0432 from Aylmer, Quebec, near Ottawa. Nice to have you on board, Steve. Danielle Marc Leblanc from New Brunswick, Canada. Nice to have you here. Unique Meme goes here. Nice to have you on board. Cheers. Leah Belcia or something like that. Nice to have you here. SWL SWLI 315RE. Signal Attention Guru, thank you for the donation. Darren Rogers, nice to have you here. We have Kevin Murray, nice to have you on board. Art Dodd, nice to have you here. Art ADC from New Jersey. Nick Amendo, nice to have you here from Romania. Jeffrey Naylor, nice to have you here from San Jose, California. Ron Seal, nice to have you on board. We have Dan V, nice to have you on board. And from Ohio and AWJZ. Kevin Murray from Wyoming Desert, nice to be back in here. Nice to have you here. KK7 HGD. Jean Arash, nice to have you on board. Otis von Schmuckel, nice to have you on board. Here it's a very humid heat. Montreal is crazy. It's like very humid. Vicky Pelletier, salut. J'espère que tu vas bien. Ça fait longtemps que j'ai écouté. J'ai passé au travers de bien des changements, c'est la vie. Nice to have you on board. And yeah, life sometimes brings you some changes that you'll know about and some changes that just arrive and you weren't maybe sometimes ready for it. It's really nice to have you back here, Vicky. Chris Delgado, nice to have you on board from San Diego, California. We have Ricky says, oh yes, I'm back in Calgary after some travel. We're at the tail end of a heat wave over here. So cool. What else do we have? Mad Radio DXer M7EIW. Good afternoon. Nice to have you on board. What else do we have? Shortwave, the real World Wide Web. Yeah, pretty much. What else do we have? Jim Gordon, nice to have you on board from sunny and warm for a change in Scotland. Nice to have you here, my friend. And Marvin Mott says, you're right. When I was in the Congo, everyone relied on FM radio, and politicians, churches, all strived for their own stations. All right, JDA, Dakota, shortwave was the web before the internet web. Yeah. It was a way to know what's happening around the world. Joe Walker says, unfortunately, it's all about money. And if something is costing money instead of making money, unfortunately, the sign of the times. Yeah. And, we all know that shortwave isn't really a place where you make money. Commercial radio stations have a hard time. And it's mostly a place where, basically it's mostly a place where countries should broadcast their viewpoints, like the good old days of the Cold War. That's what every country had a shortwave outlet, because they all wanted to have, their viewpoint across on shortwave. Joseph E. Nice to have you on board from San Francisco Bay, California. And you were sad to miss the last couple of streams. Glad to be here. Scanning the bands. Cool. Yeah, Don, the LC90 will have an update, so hang on to it. A lot of people, unfortunately, returned their LC90 for things that were actually fixed with firmware updates. It's a radio that basically gets better with time. It's unique. It's one of the only radios that actually has updates that you do yourself, which is really cool. Somebody was asking me, Texan, is that radio, that new Texan S2200, a radio that you can, update yourself the firmware? No, Texan doesn't allow it, unfortunately. '54 Cal, nice to have you here from Northwest Pennsylvania. RWC, nice to have you here from Ocala, Florida. Joe Walker, it's always beer o'clock in the Maritimes. Mad Radio DXer, you mentioned about the cuts at the BBC and the IRR. It also has to do with reportedly 500,000 people canceling their TV license payments. I think more will cancel in the future, so they need to be planning ahead. Definitely, I know that they're because they have a big hole. They have when we talked about it. The BBC has hundreds of millions missing in their budget, and it's obvious they have to do something about it. Problem is, I always hate it, and that's always something that I always thought shouldn't be. Broadcasting, especially with outlets like the BBC, which are so important, broadcasting should never be considered by a dollar amount. But unfortunately, they need money, and there's and things are not looking good for the future. They're looking at you really getting even more, cuts, because the money isn't there. Danielle Marc LeBlanc says, I was crushed when the CBC shut down their large international shortwave station here in New Brunswick. Almost every time we get a power outage, we lose all telephone, landline, and cell service. So imagine a real crisis. Yep. That also is something that shouldn't be. There's something that's brewing that I don't know where it's going to go. So Tony Pavic out in Hope, British Columbia, is trying to get together something that would put a Voice of Canada on the air through WRMI. And I know that there's a few people that would probably be interested that are ex Radio Canada International programmers, announcers that would surely put something together for such a Canadian voice via WRMI. One of the things also that was talked about is so here we have a government branch that is the Heritage Foundation or something like that, which is basically a branch of the government where they give money for anybody that has ideas on how, either for arts or even for the promotion of Canada in any way. So that's also something that I was discussing with Sheldon. Actually, we were talking about if the heritage minister, they have a lot of money. Apparently, they don't use it all. If there's a good idea about putting Canada, a Voice of Canada, on the air through WRMI, I'm pretty sure they would have money that they could give for such an idea and such a program that would put Canada on shortwave again at the same time, and promote Canadian values and ideas and so on, and even Canadian artists. So if the heritage minister could step in and give it a little something for that and pay for the airtime, that could pay for the airtime for the WRMI transmitters, it would be good. So I don't know where and how far he is in the project. But I also was thinking about something like that, because one of the ideas I had, since I'm also French Canadian, I thought, well, that could be an interesting idea to ask the heritage minister, submit a form saying, here's the idea of Voice of Canada. Bilingual would be French and English, which would reflect what Canada is in Quebec. And of course, be all Canadian, meaning what we do is really talk about Canada and promote Canada to the world. So that could be a really interesting idea, and just seeing if they would fund such a type of broadcast like that. Explaining to them that through the antennas of WRMI, well, we could promote Canada to the world. So that would be an interesting thing. I was almost kind of thinking, wow, I should maybe go online and submit a form but you've got to think about it first. And you need people, because you can't do that alone. You need people that are going to commit also to maybe helping out and put together a show. So we'll see. Steve Burnham, nice to have you here from Central Pennsylvania. Dwayne Trivet, nice to have you here. We have Gord, nice to have you on board from Niagara Falls, Ontario, VE3BEE. Bo Weber, nice to have you here in New London, Minnesota. Ricky says, RCI closed shortwave before I returned to shortwave listening. Knowing how well WBCQ often performs on 9330, I can only imagine the kind of signal Sackville would have sent us way back in the day. Oh, yeah. I mean, that Sackville transmitter site was one of the best in the world. One of the best in the world to broadcast from. I mean, it was the perfect place. And I mean, I find it so sad that, nobody at Radio Canada even wanted to, rent airtime, just like WRMI. If you don't want things to cost you too much, how about opening, already there were some relays. How about opening, that Sackville transmitter site to broadcasters that would like to use it. Brian Chapman, nice to have you here from Utah. Skylar Phoenix, nice to have you here from the mountains of Colorado. And what else do we have? Max 187, anything left to scan in Montreal? In terms of scanner radio, yeah, quite a lot of stuff. We have the local police has gone, unfortunately, digital and encrypted, but there's still some stuff. And there's still the provincial police, the SQ. There's still quite a few things in Montreal. You know, we're got to remember that we're surrounded. We have a big airport. We got the Port of Montreal with the St. Lawrence Seaway. We've got the a lot of railroads, and so all of that means that there's a lot of stuff you can still scan around with, which is pretty cool. I need to take out. I do it usually at least a couple of times every summer, and I haven't done it this year. I need to take out my scanner radio and do a band scan. What I do is I have several scanner radios, of course. So what I usually do is I take one that I dedicate for just scanning the frequency range and the VHF, UHF. And every time I find a channel that's active with something, I program it in the second scanner that I have and slowly fill up the memories. And usually in one afternoon of scanning VHF, UHF, I'll find at least anywhere between 50 to 100 channels that have all sorts of communications. Some I have no idea. Some that are that I know of. And also there's a few odd ones. Like I finally actually was able to pinpoint where it was. I would hear a tone on one of the VHF channels, and every now and then on that frequency, I don't remember the exact frequency, and it was kind of an automated voice that would say something like, security breach, door 1B, second floor. And I was like, what's that? It sounds like some kind of automated, security system or something. And I finally was able to pinpoint what it was. There's a private school, private college, not very far from here. And one of the recordings mentioned something that immediately pinpointed to that private college, which was kind of weird. It's like, okay. I'm hearing the private college security stuff. And don't forget, if you guys have a scanner, don't use it much. If you move around in any industrial area around you, if you go with the scanner, you'll see that there's a lot of low power walkie-talkies that are being used in some of the big plants. And you hear those, but you hear those when you're near the industrial area where it's happening. When you get far away, you don't hear them anymore because it's really something you have to listen to very close. When I go to a park to the east end here, Parc Belle-Rive, where I often like to watch the boats, and this is next to the Port of Montreal, and which is nice because there's a lot of low power communications within the port itself that you can hear. And because you're not far from like the oil refineries and some of the industrial areas there, you hear tons of things that when I'm back here, even though I program the frequencies, here I'm too far away, so I don't hear them anymore. But over there, I'll hear tons of communication. So it's worth it to scan around. I think anybody that has a scanner radio, if you dedicate enough time, you will be surprised at the amount of signals that are still there out in the open. What else do we have? 57 SW, nice to have you here from Southeast Georgia. We have Christopher Cullen, nice to have you on board from North Wales. Thank you, London 1965, for the tip. Says, have 5 AC units around my house. All the cats are in the hottest room every day. I guess they like the warm weather. They don't like because because he always wants to go outside every time. It's just like automatic. He prefers being outdoors. Um, Hectcal, nice to have you here from Germany. DG1PK. Kevin, nice to have you on board from New Jersey. Says that new Texan looks very cool. Nice to see manufacturers are appreciating the channel. Yeah, and it's kind of fun because they get help. The Shoyoung, particularly Shoyoung, has been very nice. I'm going to have another radio from Shoyoung. They're going to send me the LC 90 Mini, and they're going to sell me. They have a new um, faux leather case for it, and they're going to send me the case and the radio apparently very soon. So they're kind of really nice. They've sent me the internet radio, the A8W, a little portable internet radio, which is kind of cool. It's kind of nice to play with, honestly. Um, Lots of cool stuff, and I'm happy that they send me these things because they want me. They want to have my appreciation, my ideas, my opinion on it. They are, what showing, because when I did the first review of the showing LC90 when there was all the birdies, I went a little hard on the radio because honestly, it wasn't great radio. And when they came back to me, they weren't frustrated at my review. What? Because the first thing they said is my review was actually very fair. It was saying it as it is, not bashing it because for any reason, just saying it as it is. And they kind of appreciated more to have to be told the truth about what the radio is than to have a sugarcoat like Farpoint Farms thing where he says best radio ever, which is like, no, this is more like a clickbait than anything else. It was far from being a good radio at the time. But what's cool is that they are active about it. They are proactive about it. They are, um, you know, trying to fix the stuff that is broken. And it's because of my review that they fixed the birdies in a firmware update. And I mean, the email I got was like they were all excited and wanted to tell me as fast as possible, hey, we fixed the birdies. We're going to send now a firmware update, install it, and tell me what you think. And yeah, the birdies are gone. And that was so cool because suddenly the shortwave part became from barely usable to a decent radio suddenly. Christopher Cullen says, Shell's radio in my workplace at a Peugeot main dealership has gone now on FM. All the kids that work in place just bring in smart speakers and Alexa just play mindless washing machine music. Rancy, is it safe to say shortwave radio sales are up in the last few years? Preppers and radio lovers. Is it up? I don't know. I would not tend to think it's necessarily up, but I would think that it's probably very stable. I mean, why would Texan do a new redesigned radio like the Texan S2200, if it wasn't the case? That, I mean, they know they're going to sell some. They know that they sell radios. They must sell enough Texan receivers because they must say, yeah, well, it's still worth it to be in the radio business. And you got all of these new companies too. You look at XH Data, the amount of radios they're putting out. Now there's that little portable. I almost want to write in and ask for one of them to review. They probably will send me one. The Quartersen, they were so happy to send me one of the Quartersen DX286. And I mean, look at all of those new radios. If radios wouldn't sell, they wouldn't be making new radios anymore. So obviously, some people are buying them. A lot of us that are radio geeks, a little bit of radio nuts, are buying them. but there's a market. There's definitely a market in Asia. There's a big market, I'm sure, for shortwave and for radios in general. So, Fat Bear, nice to have you on board. UTV and Ham, KD9WNV, nice to have you on board from Wisconsin. Shortwave Archive says, don't have any desire to listen to BBC unless they're on shortwave at set time. Different Gear TV, nice to have you here. You know, I like the BBC, especially NewsHour and a couple of other shows they have. One that talks about history. I do listen to the BBC through internet radio if I don't have a shortwave outlet for it. I prefer shortwave, definitely. So that's why I mostly listen to 04 UTC, 12095 kilohertz, which is the best frequency of all day here and now in Montreal. But if I don't listen to that, I do listen through my internet radios to the BBC World Service. Christopher Cullen says, if shortwave radios are selling more, they should open more international broadcasters, bring them back on low power. Well, you know, I've said it in the past. I think what's going to happen is if there would be more stations, they'll be using relays. I think the future of shortwave is going through relays like WRMI. So what happens is it's less expensive than owning your own transmitter site and having to maintain it, and you're on shortwave. So, you know, I think that would be the case more. Ektal says, great channel, shortwave, never die, XH Data 808 rocks. Cool. Nice to have you here. And yep, the D808 is a great little portable receiver. Absolutely. John Beckham, nice to have you here from Northeast Florida. Going to buy me a Quartercent DX286. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. Different Gear TV, first time in on this. Do we do a live scan about the radio? Yeah, we're from time to time. We're going to go through the different things, but sometimes we do a little bit of scanning on the band. So hang in there. I want to talk about also the new Texan receiver. So, Shortwave Archive, as long as they start each broadcast with the piano interval signal, I'm all for it. Craig Martinetti, nice to have you here from Oxford County, Ontario, Canada. SWAT Cats, Canada, birthplace of my favorite sport. Canada and Quebec, not the same thing. Well, we're not going to go political. It's a little complicated. Different Gear TV. Only just got the XH Data D808 the other day, and I have to say that the manual is extremely thin. A lot of things are not explained in it. There is a new manual, by the way. If you go online to the XH Data website, they have redone the manual. So download the PDF, the new manual. It's improved. Shortwave Archive International Radio Report could be the replacement of the SWL Digest. Yeah. RJ Dakota still have a cassette tape of some RCI programming. If you can digitize that and send me on MP3s, I would be happy. You would put them online. The CIDX Club, we have a new YouTube channel that we've opened. The YouTube channel is dedicated to putting online recordings of shortwave broadcasts of all sorts. We'll try to keep them as 5 minutes or less in length, because the first ones were way too long. But if you guys want to subscribe to it, you can check out our channel here. I'm going to post a link. So this is the CIDX channel, where we will post as time comes, and as I get more clips, we're going to have more and more videos of old shortwave broadcasts from the past that are disappeared now, all sorts of things, and slowly we'll fill up the channel with those. So, and anybody that has a clip that they would like to send in would be very, very good. It's very welcome. Simon Templar, nice to have you on board. We have G0TUE Shortwave, just bought a Malahit DSP2 for shortwave listening and ham bands, and I've got the S2200, I guess, on pre-order. Shortwave Archive, when Sackville closed down, many broadcasters stopped North American services like Voice of Vietnam. Yeah, they did go to, like Voice of Vietnam did go on WHRI, if you guys remember that station in, what was it? South Bend, Indiana, something like that. And WHRI was the last one that was broadcasting to North America, the Voice of Vietnam in English. And when WHRI shut down, unfortunately, we lost Vietnam in North America, which is sad because I really enjoyed listening to the Voice of Vietnam. It's sad they didn't go WRMI. I guess, maybe they thought, well, what do we do? And WHRI, which is interesting. I don't know what's happening with that. If there's still something there, but they were selling the land, antennas, the station, everything for $1 million. And the first thing I thought was, wow, $1 million isn't that high of an amount of money to buy that, considering all they have and probably a pretty big land with it. It's kind of cheap. WBCQ wanted to buy WHRI, but were turned down by the FCC. Why? I don't know. But I guess, is it still there? Is it still up? Did they remove the antennas and everything? I have no idea. Vojislav, nice to have you here from Belgrade, Serbia. Nice to have you here. The Craig Martinetti is WDX2ROE. Marvin Mott says, how much money would it take to put this shortwave program on WRMI for an hour each month? Somewhere around, for an hour, somewhere around $60, $70 for the hour. It depends. It actually will depend on the power output, how much power you want. If you want to have the higher power, it's more expensive. What frequency and what time that you want. So there's kind of a variable here of, depending on what frequency and time and power, anywhere up to like $100. It's not that expensive, honestly, for any broadcaster. A government broadcaster, it's nothing. $100 is, even they do it every day. They could do it every day. It wouldn't cost them more than a couple of thousand a month, and that, which is nothing for a government broadcaster, particularly. Metalunar, what do you think of CB radio lately? Do you make any contacts on that band these days? Do you keep CB radios around to scan those channels now and then? So I go up to the CB channels regularly with my shortwave radios, particularly, but I have found something about 2 months ago. I think it was in June. One Friday evening, where I was kind of getting bored, I decided to scan the CB channels with my Uniden CB, the 980 SSB. And it was around midnight. So I plugged in my mobile antenna that's in the backyard and started scanning and heard something on channel 20. And it turns out that there's a bunch of guys on channel 20 that do a net on CB every Friday night. and they are there for hours, and they're a pretty big bunch too, and they're north of Montreal. So at first I didn't know where they were, and I decided to do a little, break channel 20 to see if they could hear me. They weren't that strong, so I knew they were far away, especially because they were talking about their equipment, which was very high-end equipment with big antennas. And one of them heard me, and I was surprised that they were up near like the Saint Adele area, which is like 50 kilometers away. And I thought, wow, I'm making it 50 kilometers with just a simple antenna on single sideband channel 20. They weren't hearing me very well, but they were hearing me. So then they gave me a link for a private Facebook group that they have, which has like 300 or 400 members on it. And that's where I learned there's still quite a few CBers out there that have a lot of fun with that. Most of them, though, were using modified ham equipment to go on CB radio. So it's kind of cool knowing that there's some activity, definitely. And there's also a couple of guys that are almost every night on channel 16 lower sideband. And those are here in Montreal, not very far. And they're super technical. They actually know more about radio than a lot of hams, which, I always find funny because when I hear some of the hams saying, well, ham radio operators, we're experts. We know everything. Yeah. It's not what I see in a lot of cases, but these guys, they talk radio. They know what they're talking about. And I've talked to them a few times too. So there's some activity, definitely. It's not the 1970s, but it's definitely still a lot of stuff there. Joe Walker, unfortunately, everything on the trunk system in Nova Scotia is about to be all encrypted. Government just bought several new radios, even for search and rescue. So, yeah, it's mostly these things that are going kind of digital, trying to, they don't want us to listen anymore, I guess. What else do we have? Okay. Joseph says scanners are great in some places still. Near airports can be cool. Lots of auxiliary channel use. Yep. C March 128. Nice to have you here, Chris. And KN4EXM. Yep, there's lots of GMRS, definitely. Fat Bear enjoys his Uniden SDS 200, which is a pretty nice, decent scanner radio. George, nice to have you on board from Mexico. And Robert Guarino, nice to have you on board. And thank you very much. Matthew Fernell, nice to have you here. What's the best AM/FM radio for pulling in long signals from, say, 10 plus hours away or farther? I live in Saskatchewan. You could start, actually, the Codasend DX286 is a pretty darn good radio for AM, and plus it accepts outdoor antennas. That could be a good choice if you want to listen to and DX some AM stations from far away. Just gonna go here. We don't have much radio, and I'm just wondering your thoughts. Okay, yeah, I think that little Codasend DX286, and there's a lot of decent portables that a lot of the Texan receivers are definitely pretty good also in getting in long distance AM signals. What else do we have? Peter Marshall, nice to have you on board from London, England. My opinion of digital DMR radios. I don't have much experience with that, so not much I can say. I have the only thing I have that does a little bit of digital stuff is the ICOM ICR30 that I got here that does D-Star and stuff like that. So there's really, I don't have much of an opinion on that right now. I am looking into maybe higher end VHF UHF rig for my ham radio stuff. So that might be something I'll be looking into on the different digital modes that are available out there. Matthew says the only antenna I would have be whatever is on the radio. And for my location, I'm about 45 minutes from Regina, which is one of our bigger cities. Hi, Greg Mart. Nice to have you here. The old Sony portables had good synchronous detection. How come Texan and St. Gian today can't do the same? I would guess it's the design. I'm probably, Sony invented sync detection. So Sony is Sony, and in the day when they had good radios, they they worked hard on making it the best that they could, and it worked. Texan, the sync has never been great, unfortunately. It's in the design. Something they're doing is maybe not right, or could be the receive itself that has some, because it's the biggest problem is it loses its lock all the time. Yeah, you got to be careful, Hansi. On Amazon, not all radios are priced correctly. Some are like, what the hell is that? I saw St. Gian ATS 909 X2 the other day for $759. I was like, no way, that ain't worth that. It's barely worth the normal price. It's so crazy. Different gear TV. When I listen to shortwave, I'm on portables that have a choice of bandwidths. Most of the time, I choose somewhere that will be four, depending on what's the choice they give, 4 or 5 kilohertz for listening to AM mode, international broadcast, for example. That's probably the best. 6 gives you a little more audio fidelity on strong signals, but I rarely go to 6. And if you listen to single sideband, 3 or 2.3 or something like that, depending on, once again, the choices, not the radios don't have all the exact same choices. Jeff King says the little data HH data D220 was sent to me and I did a review of it. If it is available on the Facebook page, cool. RJ Dakota, I'm considering getting either a new Kodasen or Shoyoung radio for my birthday. Adam Lozo, my Kodasen arrives today. Wife wanted to know why I need another radio. Yeah, that's the big explanation that you have to give every time. It's like, why do you need a new radio? Don't you have enough radios? Hooked 911, nice to have you on board. Miji, nice to have you here. George says most of us are buying radios. I'm thinking about getting a PL990 as an update for my PL880, but I'm not sure if it is a good idea. I use it for listening to shortwave and decode HF weather maps and radiograms. Let me just say, if it's to upgrade, it's not much of an upgrade from an 880 to a 990. I mean, the 990 is great, but unfortunately, you'd be, I don't know, I would think about it more, George, and think about something else. either an SDR if you don't have one. Maybe that would be kind of cool. If you don't like that, well, unless you go to the the S2200 that I just got, which is going to be available in September. Which, you know, when you look at the price of a PL990, I'm not sure it's going to be much more expensive. So I don't know, because an 880 to a 990 is kind of meh. It's more of an upgrade if you would go to the H501 because of the stereo speakers, which really makes it amazing with the audio, especially listening to music. It's almost a boombox. It's great. So think about it. Think about it. Make a good choice. Because, like I said, going from an 880 to a 990 is not, you know, it's a nice radio, like I say, but it's not necessarily a big upgrade. George Old Drone 1950s. Thanks for the videos. Watching from England, UK. Thank you, George. Well, speaking of shortwave stations, there's a new one. Actually, 9670 Echo Helsinki, independent station with Russian language news without censorship. Was very surprised when I found it accidentally. Oh, it's cool. It's cool. It's probably like there's a lot of Finnish low power stations popping up on shortwave. One of the things I was telling Sheldon when we were talking about the new stations from Finland, the low power stations, was, man, it'd be cool if it, you know, I guess it must be easy to get a license there, because it's like, yeah, it'd be cool if, you know, something like that would pop up in Canada, low power shortwave stations. It would be nice. Radio Kid, wow, I wish I still had some of those old cassettes of shortwave programs I recorded on a shoebox recorder to post. Yeah, I have a box with some recordings here. I need to find it. It's somewhere. But recordings, you know, just a few minutes of recordings of different stations from the past. We're just going to post all of that on the channel. Matt says, it's too bad WBCQ couldn't buy WHRI. Was always better here than WBCQ, except the mega transmitter, of course. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why it was refused. And since then, nobody showed up for WHRI, I guess. So, RJ Dakota says, have recordings from RCI, Radio RSA, Air India, and snippets from several other stations. Shortwave Archive, I think Alan's wife wrote to the FCC about how he was a former pirate and other things. Matt says the FCC didn't need anyone telling him Alan's past. It took him forever to get a legit license because of that. And you know what? I think that it's I think that is what prevented him from getting WHRI. I think the FCC was like, nope, we're not giving you that. No permission there. They probably had a hard time giving him legit license for WBCQ, and they probably said, nope, with your past, we don't want you there. Yeah, the station Valts is broadcasts from Germany, which is channel 292, which has tons of different programming through their schedule. No, I asked once, George. I asked last year. I asked if I would want to do something. I asked Jeff White of WRMI how much it would cost, and he told me, you know, in your case for an individual, he said he told me $50 per hour. So I guess if you're a real station, it's probably a little more to make a little more money, but it isn't that expensive. Marvin Motts, maybe a GoFundMe to get Joe on the air for an hour each month to focus on shortwave revival topics. Yeah, that's something I did think about. It probably would not be a show that would be um, that would be every week or so, because it takes a lot of time to create a show. Once a month could be kind of a reasonable thing, honestly. So yeah, sunspot numbers hit the 23-year high today. We actually are into a solar cycle that is way bigger than the last solar cycle. And remember the predictions? There were two predictions when it started, and one of the predictions from Noah was that it's going to be a small cycle. But one of the predictions that came out from, I don't remember who had done the other prediction, they were actually saying that the cycle would be big, and it is. So we are right now into a solar cycle, and we're still rising. I mean, the sunspot numbers and the solar flux has been constantly above 200 now, and it is pretty cool to see that we're getting a cycle that's almost in the range of the big cycles of the 80s. Pretty cool, pretty cool. So I think it's nice, and really really shows on the higher frequencies, and even at night on the bands. This fine. It's just crazy cool. But like this week was a little disturbed. There were so many flares every day. Plus, we had some geomagnetic storming. It made conditions kind of hard this week, but overall, it's really really cool. Joseph, CB is great. I've been waiting to get one. I used to CB all the time as a kid, and yeah. Oh yeah, this it's crazy, all the activity right now. It's nice to see that cycle going. Really really nice. Joseph says, I remember this one time I talked to a girl my age on CB, and it was like such a missed connection. I kept hoping that she would appear again one day. Oh man, I remember. I just loved doing that, and I looked like a weird kid. I didn't care. It was like, yeah, I was a weird kid. So what? I would take my walkie talkies, my realistic 3 channel. I think it was 1 watt at the time that I had, and I would go to the park after school when I had nothing to do. I'd go to the park at the end of the street where I lived, and I would call on channel. I only had one channel, which was 14. I would call on channel 13 and ask if anybody else was there. And in the 80s, the number of times that I went to the park and called and had an answer back was pretty high. I would say um, every 3 out of 5 visits to the park, I would be talking to somebody. And often I would be talking with other kids. And I actually invite, crazy things that today you're thinking, yeah, in 2024, I don't know, would do that. But I was 15, 14. I'd tell them, hey, I'm at this park. Come and show me your CB radio or something. And there are guys with their cars. They would stop and say, like, CB radio in the car. And I mean, I had a lot of fun with that. And yeah, I looked weird. So what? That I had a lot of fun, and I didn't care. It was like, yeah, I got a geek with the CB radio. Yeah, so go do something else. Leave me alone. CJ says, I like CB because there's no license requirement. I think that falls more in line with free speech. I think that also gave a big boost for a while. The fact that, hey, you don't need a license anymore. Well, I got into CB radio roughly a year after the license requirement was removed. So I never had to get a license, which I found really cool. Steve says, I was there too as a kid. I had a lot of fun with the good, using CB radio, a lot of fun with the good people. Danny, Shortwave Radio DX, nice to have you on board from Yonkers, New York. Lugger Die says, I had a CB back when you needed a license. KXX7070. Man Radio DXer, I used to CB as well, but people who also did CB were horrible, so I gave up not long after. Yeah. L. Robertson, nice to have you here from Scotland. MM7BFL. Shortwave Archive, does Radio Thailand QSL? Yes, they do. I think they still do. Absolutely. Thinking of Radio Thailand, I haven't tuned into that broadcast in a long time. Marvin Motz, I made a cute sounding. Okay, when I was 16, on CB when I was 16, at one point, she asked me to comment on a particular girl whom I thought was ugly. It was her. Okay. Man, the problem isn't that science doesn't have an idea, just that science is still learning. Followed Dr. Yeah, the solar girl, the space weather girl. There's a lot of unknowns with the sun. There's still so much we just don't know, and we're learning. I mean, one day we'll probably have much better ideas of and predictions for the solar cycles, but right now it's still a lot of unknowns, and we're not sure. So, I mean, a lot of the learning of solar of the sun comes from the recent satellites that were put up, like Soho and so on. All of these solar satellites that observe the sun. That is, the solar science is actually been mostly pushed in the last 20 years. Before that, we were still really ignorant about, a lot of what the sun does and how it works. And, now we got better ideas. We could see things we've never seen before. So, I think eventually predictions will probably get better. Donna Wayall, remember CB radio when you had to have a license? Yeah. Vols, let's talk about ham VHF gear. Do you actually see alternatives to ICOM 9700? I haven't looked at enough VHF, UHF gear right now to have any great idea of what is out there and comparing. Danny, Shortwave, just spot a Yeast UFT991A HF, 50 megahertz VHF, UHF, and C4 FM transceiver. Cool. Michael, scanners can pick up wireless microphones. Yep, absolutely. As long as they're not spread spectrum. A lot of them are spread spectrum. You guys won't believe it. I didn't think somebody would a lot of people are still using those. I was going for a walk, and there was maybe 3 or 4 streets from here, an old lady on her balcony talking to the phone in a old style cordless phone. So she still had that. So that means she still has a landline. And I thought, wow, if I had my scanner radio, I could have, picked it up, which made me, it gave me an idea of someday I should scan those frequencies and take a really long walk to see if somebody somewhere still uses those. And I know that she did, so she must not be alone still with an old phone like that. Jazz Tank, nice to have you here from Louisville, Kentucky. XH Data is giving away a D220 with a purchase of a D808. That's an interesting deal. Yeah, Fusion, DMR Fusion, and all of that. Richard Rowland, nice to have you here. Budapest, Hungary, calling on your show. Nice to have you on board, my friend. And what else do we have? Fat Bear, that's my problem. Always buying too many radios. Shortwave archive a few weeks ago, volunteered for local food pantry. Came across someone who used to listen to shortwave in the 80s, and I was surprised knowing shortwave was still a thing. For a lot of people, the idea that shortwave still exists is surprising because for a lot of people, they're going to tell you, well, I thought with the internet now, I never would have thought that shortwave would still be a thing. I think that's a lot of it goes in that mind frame. SWAT cuts as an operator that truly gets me is when I receive an operator and I can hear the operator loud and clear. However, when that operator makes contact with me, it seems like I cannot hear them at all. So, yeah. CJ, what's up? How's life? Okay. Can't complain too much. Getting free radios. I think that explains that. Yeah, it's kind of cool. Radio Kid in the morning have been getting what appears to be an image at 5980, where that sounds like a mix of 5935 and 5890 together. Even on the Texan PL 606, I thought DSP radios aren't supposed to get images. These are not images. These are mixing products due to overload, which is not the same thing as an image. An image is always at a specific distance. So a single conversion analog radio that has a IF at 455 kilohertz, you would get at double that IF an image. So if you're on 6,000 listening to Cuba, you would hear Cuba at 6910. So that's an image. What you're getting there is that the receiver's front end is overwhelmed by the strength of those signals, so it mixes in some other frequency, and usually it will mix in often on a frequency of another station. The other thing that you also got to be careful is that you're not necessarily also getting a image if you have two transmitters at the same transmitter site that would mix in together. They sometimes do a spurious signal at another frequency. So WWCR and WRMI sometimes are known to have, when there's two specific transmitters on, there's a effect that happens there at the transmitter site. And the two signals mix in and it creates another frequency with an image of the mixed broadcast together. But what you're getting is not an image. It's really either an overload from the stations being too strong into the radio, and or some mixing product at the transmitter site. So you got to be careful because it's really not an image. It's an image is a different thing. And a DSP radio, the DSP based radios don't have images because the first IF is the first IF is too high. The images would be way out of the shortwave range. It's really a mixing product, which is a different thing. Nicole Phillips, nice to have you here from the UK. KW1161, hello from a hot and muggy Tucson, Arizona. Anthony Friends, nice to have you here from stormy Florida. What else do we have? Brian Vandenheimer, nice to have you here, Brian. Been a while. Well, nice to be back. What else do we have? Let's check it out here. So let me just, I lost my spot. Yeah, if it's crackly, maybe it's too high. I'm gonna put the volume down a little bit. Maybe that's gonna fix your the audio. Because I play a lot with the console, so sometimes the volume can stay too high. So we'll see if it's better now. What else? What else? Okay. So I just put the volume down, which should technically fix the audio. What else do we have? Killer 61, the NOAA Space Weather Service has a 50-50 chance of getting it right. Yeah. The other group, I don't remember, it was, I think, from a university. The other group used a different way of looking at the solar cycle. And they used the fact that you could look at the solar cycles way back, and they kind of found a pattern that repeats, that is not the 11-year cycle, but a much bigger cycle, because the sun has several cycles. There's an 11-year cycle. There's one, I don't remember what's the length, but there's one that is much bigger, that is also a cycle in the sun. But they found like another type of cycle in watching the sunspots cycles from like the past 150 years. And they used that and said, no, the next cycle is going to be big, because when the sun behaves the way it behaved in the last two cycles, it usually gives a big solar cycle. So maybe they found something that can be used in the future for better predictions. Georgia took pictures from the last sunspots that caused a storm. Radio Kid says, woohoo, sunspots from the 1980s. We all need. We need the broadcasters from the 80s with it. Chastain, question for my Canadian friends. Has anyone been to the museum in Ottawa that has the weather station the German Navy built on, secretly hid in Canada? We're still transmitting 30 odd years later. I didn't know that. Craig, has anyone ever tuned into Station 984 VEH? Yeah, I got a QSL card. I got a QSL card from them back in around 1983, 4. When I got my QSL in 84, they actually went off the air not that long after. Transmitter broke down, didn't have money to repair. Steve, I did the same job when I was a kid on CB Radio, TRC 75, and after was the TRC 210. Love it. Great memories. Yep. I remember one particular event when it was school had just started, and it was early September. And I remember that night, it was a very foggy night. It was one of those weird, very foggy evenings in Montreal. And we don't get a lot of that here in Montreal. Here in Montreal, we probably can count on one hand the number of foggy days. So I decided to go out to the park, and it's early September, so the sun sets at like 7:30 p.m. It's much earlier than in the height of summer. And boy, I made contacts with a bunch of kids that had walkie-talkies, and they were inside their home, several blocks away. And they were so excited that they actually came to the park to see me, because they were like all excited that somebody else was doing CB radio with their walkie-talkies. And they had really basic talkies. I was the one with the more expensive talkies. But I remember that night because it was so unusual. We were in the park. There's a thick fog, and we barely could see the other side of the street that night. It was just weird. Chris Delgado, I have a Texan PL660 and a PLC 368, both with extra antennas on the roof, great reception in the morning and night. Would satellite shortwave give me midday reception? I don't know much about it. Actually, shortwave does not use satellites at all. Shortwave is really propagation. Midday is always a time where propagation isn't the best. So nothing that you will have in a shortwave radio of any kind will give you any difference for the most part. Because at midday level, especially in the summer, at midday level, the ionization is so strong that there's a lot of absorption also happening. So that's why in the middays, like at noon or 1 p.m., tune around and don't hear much. It's really, starting late afternoon, evening, night, and early morning that shortwave is at its peak. The difference is in the winter. In the winter, the sun is an angle that's much lower in the sky. That actually makes for better propagation in the afternoons. RJ Dakota still remember 4VH was one of those out of band type stations. I think was on 6250. At the time that I was listening, they were on 4930 kilohertz. I remember that, and it's the frequency I think I have on my QSL card. They were on 60-meter band, but they had at one point 3 or 4 active frequencies. Hook 911 38 USB is still fun except for the 1111 guy. RJ Dakota, that's a blast from my shortwave past, like the mid 70s. Lagardi, the new D88 manual on the new XH data site is the 6th, and the list labeled D808 new. Yeah, for those that are looking at it. That's one thing that I love of the Texan S2200. I mean, this is a manual. This is a manual. I mean, I can read this. It actually is also pretty good. So, that's a manual, guys. I like it. For sure. Danny Shortwave here in Yonkers. Those old copper phone wires are gone from the outside wooden poles. Nothing but coax cable and fiber optic lines now. Craig says, are there any mailbag shows on shortwave anymore? Yeah, there's quite a few. Radio Romania has a mailbag show. Voice of Turkey has a mailbag show. What else? Where did I hear some other mailbag? Cuba used to have one, but we don't hear Cuba pretty much now. Cuba is kind of dying. Their transmitters are going haywire. But Romania and Turkey has a mailbag show. They read letters. Turkey, I think it's on a Sunday. And here they are kind of the copper wires are still here, but now they have fiber optics also. So on the back, I still have the good old copper, but next to it, there's a second wire, which is a fiber optic, and they put a little tag on it with kind of it's like a star icon, like to say that this is fiber optic. So we kind of have hybrid here. And my cable internet, I am on a gigabit connection. So my download speeds are 1 gigabit per second. And I am on the cable. So what happens is Bell, which would be the only one that would have fiber to the home in the backyard. What I have is Videotron, which is a cable company. And so what they do is they have fiber to the corner of the street. And in the corner of the street, they have a standard coax that comes up to the home here. So it's not the best of the systems because, yeah, sometimes it creates problems. But most of the time, I get pretty much my gigabit speed, which is nice, especially on the when you download big games on Xbox Game Pass. Kind of helps. Also helps a lot when you post big videos. I do a lot of 4K videos, and when I upload 4K videos, I mean these things are huge. They're 4 or 5 gigabyte files, so it goes a lot faster. RJ Dakota getting WWV on 25, usually very uncommon. Well, I'll try it here, but not hearing it. 25 for me is a winter thing. Starting in October up to about maybe March, I'll hear WWV on 25 almost every day. But in the summer, Blogger and I used a signal generator and plotted a continuous line of actual frequency versus received frequency on the DSP radio. Huh. It'd be interesting to see that. Sea March kind of beer you got there. It's a cranberry beer, which is kind of good. It's interesting because it's losing its color as it's in there. Bill Miranda says new to Shortwave, but have already bought a few portable radios. Have watched a bunch of your videos. Thanks for the education. Cool. You know, that's the good thing here on the channels. If my channel can help in making the proper choices, I think it's really cool. Hey guys, just want to say, if you want to be part of the Zoom meeting on September 21st, or if you just want to help out in the radio fund so that I can purchase radios also, not just get them free. One of them that I maybe would like to try is the Arati 919. You can, of course, give a donation through the super chat here, or you can, of course, do a donation through PayPal at the email that I posted here. And this, of course, goes into the radio fund for more radios so that you guys can come here on the channel and know what radio to buy, what radio to ignore. As simple as that. So, yeah, apparently I'm live, according to my phone. Okay, what else do we have? Coconut water with pineapple. That's good, Keegan. There's a homemade, there's like a stand at the local grocery that has kind of a homemade lemonade, which is with coconut water in it. And it's really, really good. Rita Kid says, woke up 3 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time last night. So I ran an ETM scan, PL606, and I had it all the way up to 17,600. And 17,600 was a good signal. 16-meter signals at local nighttime are unusual. Sunspots are strange. Yeah, and also you got to remember that the signals on summer and summertime can go through the North Pole because it's in daylight, constant daylight. That's why 20, 15, and even 15 meters hams band is open to Europe and to the Middle East in the middle of the night. I mean, I made a contact with Japan on 15 at midnight local. And I mean, that's 4 hours after sunset here. But of course, the Japanese station in daylight was sending the signal through the North Pole. So it was making it up to here. So there's so much weirdness and so much interesting facts when you start looking at propagation on the shortwave bands. KW1161 local FM transmitters had to move from our local copper mine held due to the fact that their mixing products triggered the brakes on their 500-ton trucks. Wow. So yeah, the J projects. Yep, there's there was an interesting article that I read last night on the biggest sunspot we've ever had, the biggest solar flare we've ever measured, which happened in 2003 at the height of that solar cycle, and it was measured as an X45. What happened is that was not on our side of the sun, and the energy that the coronal mass ejection sent out was so powerful that by the time it reached the end of the solar system, the Voyager spacecraft actually detected there was a spike in particles coming from the sun. So it tells you that that thing was powerful. Imagine an X45 directed our way with a massive coronal mass ejection like they were showing. Oh man, we'd be into trouble. We still have tons of warnings and nobody does anything about it. That one day the sun will unleash a powerful flare that will bring down a lot of our infrastructure. The power grid is going to be hurt bad. And unfortunately, because it never occurred in modern times, nobody wants to spend, the billions of dollars needed to make our power grid fail safe in that case. I mean, if we would be hit with a Carrington event sunspot and coronal mass ejection from 1859, we'd be in deep trouble. I can tell you that. I wouldn't be on the internet doing a live. Keegan's hearing WWV on 10:15. The strongest is 15. Here, if I do a little check. Got it on 15. So the only frequency that is really working here for WWV right now is 15, and it has a decent signal. Paul Suntag, nice to have you on board. Always enjoy your broadcasts. You're a true shortwave enthusiast. I'm expecting 2 new radios to be delivered this evening, the Reticus V115 and the Reticus TR618. I haven't got a new radio for a while. Cool. Have fun. Bill Miranda, is there anything easy I can do to keep KRLD 1080 in Dallas from overloading my shortwave radio? It's a really powerful AM station in our market. There are filters that can be added to an external antennas that block the AM frequency range. So that would be the only thing you could do, because I totally understand your problem. Here, when the Iation station started on 1610 kilohertz, they were only 1 kilowatt. But the problem is they were only 30-minute walking distance. The antenna was really close to here. And imagine on my Kenwood R5000, I would get some of the images of that station, some of the harmonics, like 1610 would pop up on 3220 and so on. And it was really, really kind of rough. And I imagine, and that's a high-end radio. So I just, would think, imagine a portable receiver that has a lot less filtering on it. Boy. But yeah, you can get a filter to block the AM band. That would fix the problem on external antennas. The problem is if the overloading gets on your radio because the internal loop of the portable, for example, gets that station and overloads, there's not much you're going to be able to do with that because the radio itself, the loop inside, is always going to be there. But if it's a radio that you have an external antenna, if it only happens with an external antenna, definitely an AM block would work. You probably can find some of those filters. There are some online, that's for sure. I don't know where you would purchase one. Maybe somebody knows where maybe you could get one of those filters to block the AM band. Okay, let's and there are some receivers that are worse than others, definitely. As as Matt MDK2 is saying, there's a lot of that. Not all radios are equal. Some are really, really bad. Yeah, that's the other trick. That there's the DX local switch that could be, or an attenuator, depending on the radio you have. That could help also. Voice of Mongolia has a mailback program, Shortwave Archive. Yeah, but you don't hear it anymore. I believe Voice of Mongolia has gone from WRMI now. What else do we have? Yeah, the Master Players, radio and television, where I am, and everything is still fiber coax hybrid. We still also got DSL, but 5G is being rolled out in my part. Yep, Danny, Shortwave. Uploading 4K videos is much faster. Games are crazy big, KW1161. Every time I download a game, it's like, wow, they keep getting bigger and bigger all the time. Marco 991. You can't go wrong. That Texan PL330 is an amazing little portable. Different gear TV. How many radios are too many radios? You mean you can have too many radios? I don't think so. Going down. In the UK, picked up some Japanese music last night. NHK Japan broadcast from Japan, also Eastern France. Yeah, there's one that is a couple of frequencies that are from France, especially at night. 6105. That frequency is a powerful frequency here in Japanese. Wish they had at least 30 minutes English would be fun. Alan M, good evening. Nice to have you here. Matt, I wonder if we really that unprepared. I think the Quebec event of '89 was a learning moment. Yeah, but that was nothing. That was nothing compared to a Carrington event. The 1989 storms were powerful, but what we had in May was probably, I think they said it was something like 60 or 70% of 1989 storm. But the Carrington event is like, 100 times the power of that 89 storm. And we are unprepared for that type of event. And one day it will hit, and that will be a problem. Yeah, 6105 and the NHK is a powerful one. Hey, Mickey Delmage, nice to have you here from Sherwood Park, Alberta, Canada. The Win 1960, nice to have you on board. RJ Dakota says we have an event like that. It would be like the movie The Day the Earth Stood Still. Everything would just stop. NDK2 didn't have WWV or WWVH on any frequency. Bit of a radio blackout here on the daylight side of Earth. Got Spain on 17855. Hey, David in Barcelona. ¿Cómo está mi amigo? Welcome aboard. As always, watching from Barcelona, Spain. We have just check it out. Bill Miranda says we have a ham radio outlet and piano. Maybe they can help me. Yeah, sure. You should go and talk to them about it. They usually know their stuff. Craig Martinetti has no one listen to a pre-tuned shortwave radio station on a solar-powered radio. Huh. Peter Marshall, goodbye satellites, paragrids, and computers. The satellites would be hit hard, that's for sure. A lot of them are not even shielded enough in case. KW61, do you mean my $22 Ronda 701 can be overloaded? Yeah, pretty much all portables overload anyways, even the more expensive ones. If you look at my videos, I have videos where my Texan PL990 and the H501 overload with WWCR. Here, WWCR is probably the biggest problem here. At night on 5935, that WWR signal is so strong. On an external antenna, a lot of my portables, you hear WWCR in the background of, another station on the 49-meter band. Matt says, which is funny because HRO is the only outlet for SDR Play, which is a receiver only. W. Firmware, nice to have you here from Central Florida, where we're awaiting Tropical Storm Debbie. Yeah, you guys had a break there because one of the there's for a few weeks there was a lot of the Sahara Desert dust and the atmosphere over the Atlantic Ocean, which made it almost impossible for any hurricanes to form. But now that that's kind of subsiding, apparently the water temperatures are crazy hot in the Atlantic Ocean surface. So they're saying that, boy, might get pounded with huge hurricanes. The last hurricane that happened, Beryl, it flooded Montreal. We had so much rain. My weather station can measure rain, and we had almost 100 millimeter of rain in 7-8 hour period of time. I mean, everything, we got a lot of flooding here in Montreal because of it. So it can hit us even up here. Not as bad as you guys down there, but we get some good ones. Sheila Lessal, nice to have you on board. Bill Miranda, I read a comment that propagation always seems to work great when there's a contest. Well, you know what? That's the funny thing of amateur radio. We always complain that there's not enough, especially people like to talk. There's not enough SSB voice guys on the bands. And the other thing is, I always get the comment of, 10 meters is always closed. I'm not going there. There's never nothing happening. Then you get a contest, and 10 meter is like full of signals. And it's like, yeah, that just shows you that it's open a lot more than you guys think, but you never go there. So, and there's so much, I think this is one of the things that I hate the most. There's so much um, a way of thinking that kind of tells you, well, 10 meters never open, so why should I bother going there? And when you think about, everybody's saying that all the time. Yeah, okay, but if everybody thinks that I'm will not go on 10 meters because there's never nothing on 10 meters, or 10 meters is never open, then of course there will be nobody on 10 meters because nobody's going there. You got to be careful with that. I always say it. Go to the bands that you think would not work. Always try to go there because you will be surprised. Go up, call CQ if you're a ham, and you'll be surprised. There's a good chance somebody's going to answer back at some point. But it's our way of thinking. It's the same when I look at frequencies on a list of shortwave frequencies. I'll see frequencies sometimes that like, chances of that making it here on that frequency at this time. But you know what? Punch it in and try it. You will be surprised at what you get. Honestly, you'll really be surprised. What else do we have? Matt says there's a 10 meter SSB contest supposed to be happening now, but 10 meters is dead here. No signals to be had. Yeah, summer 10 meters in the summer is never really good. It's always been, for some reason, the I don't know if it's the absorption of the ionosphere, but unless there's sporadic e-skip that turns it on, most of the propagation, regular propagation, is much better in the winter time. Blogger Die HRD 701 has a pretty good speaker, Bluetooth, weather alerts, MP3, and ATS. And it's yellow. What else do we have? Everybody needs a yellow radio, says Blogger Die. We need a radio of every color. If I'd like to see, it's like, were they called? Flavor Radio? That Radio Shack had, the little portables that came in I don't know how many colors. I'd like to have a series of shortwave radios that would be in every color. Every time I purchased a radio in the past, in some of those emergency radios, I would always be attracted by the ones that have colors. So I got a couple of them. I got one that's red, I got a yellow, I got a green. One of them came in blue. I would have loved to have a blue one. There's something about that. Radios should be colorful, not just black and gray. That S2200 should have come in red, yellow, blue, and green. That would have been cool. I would have bought a blue one. I would have asked for the blue one, actually, because I didn't buy it. Craig Martinetti says, years ago, I bought a pre-tuned radio from Galcom. It was pre-tuned to the shortwave radio in Columbia. Huh? David C. Streams, nice to have you on board from Kansas, KC0DSDAA. Yeah, Viva Miami from WRMI is another one of what else do we have? Radio Colosal used to be the biggest radio station in Colombia. Trustin, nice to have you here from Newfoundland. Dave Harlow, nice to have you here from Ireland, EI8IOB. Hoping to get some QSOs on 24.950 later tonight. I have the radio for weeks with none answering on 25 megahertz, 24 megahertz, sorry. 12 meter band. Works fine on 28 megahertz weeks ago. Great to hear shortwave listening. Pretty cool. RT Curtis, nice to have you here. RJ Dakota and Northeast USA, someone arrested recently for trying to interfere with power grid. You know what? Here we had one nut job. The guy is unhappy with, I don't remember what triggered his mental problem, but the guy was planning to, he actually flies a small Cessna type plane. He was planning to drop tons and tons of aluminum foil over the power lines to short them out. And he got arrested before he could do it. I don't know, somebody found out, or I guess. And he's in jail today. And apparently he's being a real big pain in the butt. And he was about to get like permission to get out of jail. And the parole board said, no, we can't let you go because you still have that heat, and we're afraid you're going to actually use a plane again and try to, bring down the grid by throwing tons of aluminum foil over the power lines. I mean, who thinks of that? Taking your plane and throwing aluminum foil to short out the power line and the power grid. I just can't believe it. Blogger Die, it's illegal in South Korea to listen to North Korea on the radio. You sure that? I mean, it is in North Korea, I'm sure, but I'm not sure it's necessarily illegal in South Korea. But then again, anything is possible. You never know. I was trying for Voice of Korea and North Korea this week. I could hear it just barely on 11.710. Could recognize the interval signal, but it was very weak at this time of year. It's not the best time for me. Kingman Public Access TV, nice to have you on board. Yes, absolutely. Regular streaming. It's a little less than before. It's not every week, but I'm here. Since the channel started in 2012? We're in 2024. And my first stream is in 2014, 13, 14. It's like 10 years now. From the kitchen. A lot of you remember with my icon on the kitchen, in the kitchen on the dryer. Oh man. Dwayne Trivet. It's got a yellow 8-track. Panasonic had radios like that in the 70s. Daddy Shortwave, yes, we like radios of all colors. Yeah. Yeah, I did see that the XH Data D220 had colors. Blogger Die, the old R919 Grundig M300 came in like 12 colors. Yeah, I got a what is it? One of the Grundig named little portables that I had with my Super Radio 3. Comes in colors. The one I have is red. It's pretty cool. Really, kid, wow, did not know it was illegal to listen to North Korea if you live in South Korea. Well, the reverse is true. I know that in North Korea, radios are blocked on the government frequencies. But kind of surprises me that South Korea also. I mean, I can't think of a South Korean that's going to convert to the North Korean lifestyle. It'd be kind of weird. WF7I Homebrew, nice to have you on board. Bert from Virginia. Dave Newmeyer, N0KM. I painted the case of the realistic DX150B blue back in the day. Oh, wow. Shortwave Archive. If Voice of America is for audience outside the US, then where is the service for Canada? Yeah, I guess they don't want anyone in North America. Although it's funny because a few years ago when they had that calendar, they would give away a calendar if you'd write an email to, it was something like calendar@voa.com or .gov. No one in the US could get one, but I had written in from Canada and I received my calendar in the mail. I got a few QSL cards, and I still remember a couple of guys saying, "Wow, you lucky bum! You've got QSL cards from Voice of America. They don't even answer U.S. mail in general." Yeah, I don't think that they're gonna start bothering you if you're listening to North Korea and in South Korea. But it's like everybody else, like everywhere else. As Mad Radio the Extra says, remember, guys, when we're in times of war, rules change. In World War II, many countries stopped amateur radio from working, from operating. A ham couldn't operate, couldn't transmit. Um, and I believe today there are some small rules again. There are a couple of countries, if I'm not mistaken, that you are not allowed, depending on where you live, in the US, Canada, and so on, that you're not allowed to make a contact with through amateur radio. I mean, when there's big wars, a lot of rules change and a lot of things are very different. Keegan DX, I have two yellow radios, Sony Walkman. Yeah, that one was that was the I mean, everybody had that yellow Walkman from the day. And Weather X radio. S57SW. That's true. You're right. I did see a white PL 880. Remember. KW 1161. The nut needs his aluminum foil wrapped around his head. Yeah. Up to up to the neck to make sure it doesn't breathe anymore. Brian Penny, nice to have you here from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Oh yeah, here summer's in full swing and a little too much. We actually just had the warmest July ever on record in Montreal. Take care, Bill Miranda, 73. I don't want to find out the hard way. No, let's just not do it on purpose. Kingman Public Access TV says gets the North Korea on 9445 at 2 a.m. on the PL365. It's kind of interesting. Tasso V, nice to have you here and thank you for the tip. Kingman Public Access. Yeah, the 8500 on your washer with a 100-foot long wire and the Google Hangouts. Oh yeah, that was sometimes hard to hear on the audio. Oh man, good old days. Now I got a like super beautiful background where it's like, the professionalism is a little different today than from the days of the 8500 on the dryer. David says, remember when you started doing Hangouts? Yeah. Oh, man. I still remember when I did my first live. I mean, I was I was I was terrified of getting on live. It was like, wow, never done this. I was really terrified. It was like, oh man, okay, here it goes. Today it's like being in my living room. So who cares? Pretty cool. Things move and change. Just crazy. A radio paint shop. That'd be interesting. Send me your radios. Tell me the color you want it, and all sorts of designs over it. Like not just you know colors. It's like, oh, you want to have rainbows on your radio, and we'll do a rainbow radio. Go for it. You know. Matt, South Korea used to be a rather repressive place. People forget that sometimes. It only started becoming more of a true republic in the 80s. Yeah. Tassovie pouring over here. Weather radio went off 3 times today. Wow. One of a severe thunderstorm watch, second for warning, and 3 for flash flood warning. Here we do have, I believe, let me check the weather. Yeah, we do have a severe thunderstorm watch. And if we look at the radar, yeah, something's coming. You could see that. I think a little later tonight we're going to have some thunderstorms there. Blogger Die, Google. According to South Korea's National Security Act, it is illegal to listen to or publish North Korean radio broadcasts, but it's not easy to punish citizens for listening privately. Yeah, of course, if you listen in your home, nobody's going to know. Do you think VOA will send you 100 calendars? I don't think. I think they send one per person, per user. Whatever. RJ Dakota, have a QSL card from VOA. It was one of my first ones that I got. It was from the late 70s. Matter the extra, Ukraine had an embargo on hams when the Russian invasion happened. Eventually, it was lifted. I had a contact with Victor, a Ukrainian ham on SSB Voice last month, and I had contacted that guy the year before, and he likes to talk, so we did talk for a while on 20 meters. And he was telling me that he was worried because this year he's not been doing a lot of ham stuff because power grid was down most of the time, and that things don't look good. And it was like, talking to somebody from Ukraine and seeing that progression. The first time you talked with him, things were not too bad. Now you see the worry. You see that the guy is like, I don't know what's going to happen. So, yeah, that'll be the next debate, Trusson. Which color brings in signals better? Blogger that Panasonic Panapet came in colors. Huh. Interesting. So all you is good at all as good as you're placed. Okay. Matt says they jam each other's medium wave FM band signals, but I think they leave shortwave alone. Yeah, shortwave is a different thing because it's difficult to jam properly, also, and north and south being so close on a lot of frequencies probably don't even hear each other. They were saying in the times of the USSR when there's the jammers. I remember one Russian listener that sent a message to HCJB. And I still remember they read it on the air and they said that the jamming was only 50% effective, which meant some days it worked, some days it didn't do anything. So they still could hear foreign broadcasts. I guess the ones that were hit the most maybe would be, the big cities where the jammers were in the city, because now that would just jam and that's it. But people probably that were in rural areas of Russia, the jammers were probably not that effective. Tasso, listening to WRMI the other day, heard a program from WNYC, our local NPR station. They were talking about shortwave as such. It was interesting to hear the program called On the Media. Huh, interesting. Interesting. King uh, Kingman Public Access TV says a custom Paul the X the Cat mural radio would be awesome. Paul the Cat as a radio. Take care, Dwayne. It's nice to have you here. 57 SW hearing thunder. George, from the times that I've been in Saskatchewan, I remember that all stations are in FM. Shortwave is barely audible in big cities like Seoul or Daegu. Yeah, and South Korea, not Saskatchewan. What did it say? When I saw the names, I was like, no, it's not Saskatchewan, it's Seoul in South Korea. Yeah, well, it's like every big city, you know. When we had the Winterfest on the Zoom, there was Toshi from Tokyo, Japan, and he was telling us that noise is so high in Tokyo that it's very difficult to listen to anything on shortwave. And I can imagine. I can imagine. AC here, I got two AC units, one here in my office in the window and one in the kitchen. And they barely are capable of keeping the temperature cool here. It's crazy. It's hot when the ACs have a hard time, and I mean they've been running nonstop, nonstop. Tasso, Oswald the cat. Oh, he's great. He's outside, in the back balcony probably. I don't know if I bring up the just out of curiosity. Can we see him through the back camera? Let's see. So backyard camera. Let's see if I can bring him up and see if camera has a hard time. My camera in the backyard has a very hard time connecting to my Wi-Fi. It's so far away that it connects half of the time, and maybe because I'm doing a live show, I don't know. Can't see it. I'll just try. So, Dave Harlow, the over the horizon radar woodpecker was heard regularly in Ireland in the mid 80s on 11 meters. Very annoying. Yeah, I was. Somebody was talking to me about in Europe, because we were talking about a couple of years ago about jamming, and camera is not working. So, and they were. I mean, here in North America, the jammers were everywhere. We were hearing them quite easily, but they were not as strong here as you guys in Europe. And one guy was telling me here in Europe, those jammers were nightmares. They were all over the place, and they were always very powerful. Here in North America, we were hearing them, but they weren't as strong. Blogger I thought I heard Radio Marti jammed a few days ago. Yeah, Radio Marti is always jammed by Cuba. And depending on propagation conditions, here I usually will hear either Radio Marti or Radio Jammer or a mix of both. And Cuba often leaves the jammer on all the time. So it's like you get on one of the Radio Marti frequencies that's, when they get off, and you're like, oh, look at that. I'm hearing the Cuban buzzing jammer. They were saying that two frequencies of WRMI are jammed, 9955 and what was the other one? 5800, I think. These two are jammed by Cuba also. Radio Kid on the Media has been running for years and is still distributed on the NPR FM stations. I've heard WRMI broadcast, and it sounds like an experiment. Oh, that'd be interesting. It's, why not put these on the air? Yeah. Yeah, and backyard is a DX camera. It's tough to get. I'll try it again. Just want to try it. Because probably on the balcony. The one in the front works great because, it's near. Just to give you guys an idea. It's interesting. Even the one in the front is a hard time. I don't know if it's because I'm streaming. Usually the one in the front works like without any problems, any issues. Or maybe I just need to restart the router because they're not connecting right now. Has he been enjoying the evening sitting beside you while listening to the radio? Yeah. When I'm in the back, like I do a lot of testing on my radios, putting the radio on the barbecue and the back. It's flat, so it's like a nice surface. And since I don't have a table on the balcony, it's the perfect place to put a radio. And usually when I go there, I put the radio on the barbecue, and I just tune around. He always comes out and just lies down on the balcony next to me. Take care, Mad Reader DXer. Yeah. Well, I do miss I do miss Radio Vanek Cuba itself. There's a few things I like to listen to, but the jamming isn't missed. But Radio Vanek Cuba was, it happens, it's there, but it's getting more and more difficult to listen to Cuba at some point when it's just going to be not going to be there anymore. Tesla, I have a hybrid. I got a gigabit speed here, and it's cable internet, but it's fiber to the corner street, then cable to the home. So it's kind of a hybrid system. RJ Dakota still like to hear from Cuban English from time to time. Yeah, me too. Matt says, I like Cuban English when they had things like their music shows and Arnie Coro, but that stuff started being scarce even before the signal became the, yeah. I do miss Arnie Coro's The Extras Unlimited, which was kind of a, cool, relaxed radio show. And of course, the Cuban music, especially when it's hot, listen to the Cuban music. It's almost as if you're there. Danny Shortwave, yeah, sometimes rebooting the modem router, sometimes, yeah. It's been a long time since I've rebooted. And because when it works well, oh, here it goes. It's connected. But no Paul the cat to be seen in the backyard. So that's the backyard. So I guess either he's got back in or he's it's connected. Tess OV, and this is my camera that shows the street and the entrance in the front. So you can see here. So yeah, well, if I wanted to have fiber to the home, I can from Bell, because here in the back, the fiber does actually come right to the home. But the cable company is a hybrid, and in my case, they do say it's a hybrid. So they're telling you it's like you're going to be cable internet, but the fiber is going to like go to the box on the corner street. Craig Martinetti, Radio Havana, Cuba, had some strong signal when I was young. Radio Rebelde, yeah, but they've been missing a lot of days. There's been a lot of days where 5025 been missing, though. I think they're having a problem. I know that they're having a serious problem with power outages. Maybe Radio Havana, Cuba is also affected by the power outage and all the radio stations in Cuba in general. RG Dakota, shortwave radio used to allow me to visit lots of places that I never could afford to visit. I even have heard radio from Tahiti. Yeah, RFO Tahiti. I remember that. 15, what was it? 15170? One of the frequencies. I remember one in the 40-meter band, 7 something in the morning. I have such fond memories of my summer vacations from school, and I would wake up at 6 or 7 in the morning just to listen to what was on shortwave at that time. Boy, I have such amazing memories. Tasso says, I was tuning around the other day and heard WTW duty still on. They are on 9475, then go over to 5085 in PM. Yep, they're back on. They repaired the transmitters. Apparently, the transmitters were in such bad shape. They had to rebuild a lot of stuff. A lot of the antennas were also falling apart. So they kind of rebuilt the station, basically, from the days of their music shows, which they didn't know. It was just kind of funny. They have a great airing. 9475 is strong here. They have a great airing of, I think it's World of Radio, Glenn Hauser's World of Radio on Sunday evenings on 9475. George, yeah, Radio Havana, Cuba, and French also, yeah. I remember listening to their French language broadcast when I was a teenager. It was always cool. They had I don't know if they had, did they have a stamp, what do you call it, philatelic, whatever, talking about stamps in French. They had a program that talked about stamps, and they would ask us to write in, and they'd send you tons of stamps, Cuban stamps, by mail, which is kind of cool. Mitch Playing, nice to have you here from Buckeye, Arizona. Yeah, the Radio Havana Cuba's facilities are falling apart, definitely. And I think they are using a lot of the old Russian transmitters that are just, there's no way to fix them, really. I'm surprised that China doesn't kick in, because they used to use that relay for China Radio International from Cuba. I mean, they actually sent brand new shortwave transmitters to Mali to broadcast to Africa. I'm very surprised that China hasn't sent brand new transmitters to Radio Havana, Cuba, so that they could have a better signal into North America. Maybe that's the thing about North America. More and more shortwave broadcasters are noticing that North America isn't a place that's interesting to broadcast to. A lot of broadcasters still broadcast to Europe, but omit to broadcast to North America. I think maybe they're not getting enough mail or something. There's like, well, nobody's listening. That's why I always say we should all force ourselves to not be lazy and write to all the stations that we enjoy so that they know we're out there. Because, without letters or emails, they don't know who's there. They don't know if somebody's listening in. And even that, Tasso, the China relay, a few times I've tried, and even the China relay isn't always good. Even that China relay. RJ Dakota, fiber internet is all we have now. When it does go down, it's not such a mess to bring back up. George, a few days ago, found Radio Mali on shortwave. Music was full of joy. Fortunately, I can't find it again. Mali's on 5995. And as we're going to move on towards fall, it should get better. 5995 is the frequency of Mali. And usually, let me just check it out here. I'm hearing something weak in noise. It's probably them. And 5995, and the music is just so exotic. It's like the broadcast of the past. It's really cool. Simarchi says, listen to Radio Moscow in the early 80s. Yep. Radio Moscow. That was a big one. I always enjoyed Radio Moscow. TAT 15170, 11825. Yeah, I remember that one. But they had one also at one point on, I believe, a 40-meter band in the middle of the ham bands. Kingman Public Access TV. I miss Radio Canada International. They used to have a strong off the whip signal all over the USA. Yeah, I guess that's also it. Maybe China doesn't have much interest in Cuba also. They have interest in Africa because they have tons of things there. So it's logical that, they want to keep their voice in Africa. China is everywhere in Africa. So I'm not sure if I should ask for a QSL from WRMI themselves, though, because it says on their website all reception reports go to WRMI. Yeah, you can ask. I have one here. I got a QSL from them. It takes a long time. Be prepared. If it's still the same thing, WRMI is going to take forever, but you'll get it someday. You're not going to get it in 2 weeks. You're going to get it like in 10 months. Mine was very, very slow. Kingman Access, Public Access says, received Mali for the first time last year, winter, thanks to Cuba not splattering anymore. Yeah. 5995. Kev Michael, let's have you here. Radio Moscow was a favorite too. I have QSL card from the 1980s. Yeah, I got several QSL cards from then. Paul Aaron, let's have you here. Quito. Yeah, HCJB. It's go for it, Tasso. Go get your first QSL. It's a thrill. Go get your first EQSL. A lot of them are EQSLs today, but try for some that are paper QSLs. Actually, you know what? Today, anybody that is going to want QSL cards in the mail and that also have a lot of generous documentation. Utility stations. Utility stations are the big QSLers right now. So the only problem is trying to find where to send to get it. And actually, this is one thing I want to try. I want to have a QSL from me listening to Iqaluit Navtech station. I really, really would love that. I'm gonna try something here. Okay. Iqaluit. Check something here from Iqaluit. There used to be a weather broadcast. 6507. Nope, not hearing anything. But go for it. Kingman Public Access. It took me a year to get my Havana QSL. Yeah, that is long also. Radio Havana Cuba was very, very slow. And it's open in the mail. I wonder if it was Cuba's government or the USA putting me on the spy watch list. I've always had open letters from Cuba. Always. My envelopes from Cuba were always opened. It reminds me back in the day when I was doing a lot of QSLing. A lot of the communist countries, my letters were already opened. Sometimes they were opened and sealed back. George, yeah, WRMI QSL cards take a long time. Same for KBS. Last month I received a gift. Oh, cool. Different gear says, wow, I didn't realize that the stations send QSL cards. I thought it was only a ham and CB thing. Oh, no, radio stations send QSL cards. But today, a lot of them have shifted to EQSLs, which they send you through email because much less expensive. C. Marchi says, so do you just write them a letter and say you heard them broadcast? Actually, it's a little more than that. For a QSL card, you got to kind of prove that you heard them. So what you do is you send an email or a letter, and you tell them what frequency you were tuned to, what give at least 15 minutes of the details of what you were hearing on the program so that it's a proof that you actually listened to them. Date and time and UTC, and just tell them you'd like to have a QSL. And you're going to get a QSL card. Like I said, a lot of them are now EQSLs, but some still send paper QSLs. So Kevin Michael, HJB was my favorite member of the Index. I was also a member of the Index Club. The X Party line in the 80s. Yep, definitely. Testo, yes, Joe, that is cool. I didn't know you could get a QSL from utility stations. Oh, yeah. WWV sends QSL. CHU does. CHU has a QSL card. But a lot of utility, almost all utilities, actually, you just need to send it to the proper, email or postal address, and you're gonna get stuff. For those that miss the days of generous QSL and documentation from stations, because there used to be a time when we'd get these big envelopes full of stuff, full of goodies. Utility stations still tend to do that. I don't know. It's because most of them are government owned, so there's more money in it. But a lot of them still send QSLs, documentation on the operations of the utility stations, all sorts of things. One QSL that I got was Shannon Valmet station that gives out the weather in Ireland. So lots of stuff. Just like Blogger Die. If you give them details of your own listening post, if it's a portable radio, gives them an idea that with what did you hear their programs? Kev Michael, I have KPH Point Reyes, California, is 8764 with the weather map during the day. Cool. I got two QSLs from CHU. There was one that was their normal QSL, and there's another one which was a special QSL that they gave out when they moved from 7335 to 7850. They issued a special QSL for that. Yeah, lots of pirates do send EQSLs. Absolutely. Signal quality in simple code or simple code, or just words. If you don't use a simple code, just tell them how good the signal was and so on. Kingman Polyguy says wants a QSL from the pirate that used the relay. It's been a long time since a pirate relayed. Maybe I should. Maybe I should inquire. I might have some special contacts for that. A special shortwave retransmission of the. Maybe I could. Yeah, you know what? I got an idea here. I'm going to try something for the next show in September. If I could get Pirate to put me on the air, I might be tempted to send out a paper QSL to those that hear it. That could be cool. It's crazy how expensive today it's all. I've been sending out paper QSL cards for my ham stuff. I mean, anybody that sends me a QSL, I send a QSL back. I sent out 15 letters with QSL cards a few weeks ago. I just couldn't believe how expensive it was to send today. If I mean, compared to when I was a teenager, when I would, send letters all over the world, today it is dreadfully expensive to send letters through Canada Post internationally. It's just crazy. Matt says some of the hard copy QSL cards I have are West of Greece, All India Radio, NHK, KBS, Radio Romania, Voice of Turkey, CHU, Vatican Radio. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of them still have paper QSLs. What's a utility station? Well, in between the ham bands and the international broadcast bands, there's all sorts of broadcasts like weather stations, weather vomit stations. It could be aeronautical, listening to airplanes over the Atlantic. You could hear the air traffic control in New York, Gander, and a lot of other stuff. Weather maps you can decode through WeatherFax, Navtex transmissions of all sorts decoded on a PC, all sorts of, weather stations from around the world and more maritime stuff like you could listen to NMN in Chesapeake, Virginia, with marine weather broadcasts every day, several times a day. And these are what we call utility stations. They have a purpose other than a ham radio or international broadcasts. Radio Prague, yeah. Radio Slovakia, I believe, too. Spain, Radio Exterior España does send QSLs. You can write to Spain. They got back into the QSL. They used they actually at one point they stopped, but now they're back sending QSL cards. Even if you'd be surprised when I was not a ham, I used to go on Curazet.com and check out the postal address of stations, ham stations over here, and their emails. And I would send a reception report, and you would be surprised at the amount of amateur radio operators that actually enjoy that and send back a QSL card to shortwave listeners. I've got a lot of ham QSLs that way, and all happy. It's like, oh wow, this is so cool. You should become a ham, you know. Kidori 61. So when listening to North Korean radio, I wonder if you put 15 minutes praising the great leader plus 15 minutes of boring music. Yeah, well, you try to just say, well, there is a talk about Kim Jong Il at, 14:05 UTC, and then there is some music, and then there was, you will get, they send QSLs. West of Korea does send QSLs. I've seen quite a few people receiving them. I don't have one though. Kingsman Public Radio WBCQ's Flat Earth Mega Transmitter sends out EQSLs automatically. Yeah. BBC has a form on their website where you can write a reception report. Craig, can you show your QSL connection sometime? You know what? It could be a fun thing next time that I do a live show. I haven't taken out my collection in such a long time. So many exotic stuff in there. I tell you that. Yeah, RWM Moscow. Absolutely. QSL cards. Pretty cool. Kevin Michael's got a CHU Canada from the 90s. Jonathan, good morning and evening. I tune to NHK World Radio Japan on 11815 and 17810 since Friday and yesterday. I have clear reception on my radio. Cool. Blogger Die. Blogger Die. Just. Okay, here we go. Did you know that the original Ponzi scheme was based on international reply coupons? Oh, really? I didn't know that. Oh, man, international reply coupons, they cost a fortune. Just crazy. Radio Kid, U.S. postage just recently jumped to 73 cents first class. Yeah, here it's $1. I don't remember how much. It's $1 something. It's like you send 20 letters internationally and it just costs you $40. It's just crazy. The V2ZZI QSL card. Yeah, I got. Where's my other ones? Where are my cards? I had one just near here. Trying to. Got a few that I received this week. I got this one that I got this week. Got one from a ham this week. K5MGY. And it was pretty cool. Yeah, I'm trying to find. I saw the pile of my QSL cards somewhere, but I don't find them right now. Here's one. For those that don't know what my QSL card looks like, there's a QSL card with Paul the Cat taking a nap on an old tube radio. So that's my card. So, yeah, David. For the FT8 we achieved. Yep. We will need to try a single sideman, definitely, David. Yeah, we did, says B. We have FTN on most of the bands. Just need 6 meters. Kingman Poltergeist says, I'm not a ham anymore and sent a reception to S51DX in Slovenia. They mailed me after I paid them. Yeah, some will ask for money. Mickey Damage just received recently my first shortwave QSL request for my ham station. So, still some people out there. There's this, the best one here I had is when I did some SSTV many months ago, last winter. I did some slow scan TV for a while. I sent out a CQ on 10 meter SSTV frequency and never got a reply back. But the funniest thing is that I got an email from a shortwave listener in Austria that posted the picture of me calling CQ on slow scan TV. So he gave me his postal address. So I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to send him a QSL card. And the guy was like, he was a 14-year-old teenager. And, he just said, hey, it's nice to, have you. And I sent him my QSL card. And I got an email about a month after saying, wow, thank you so much. I'm so excited that I've got your QSL card in my mail this morning in Austria. And he was just like jumping up and down. The guy that, it reminded me of my teenage years of shortwave listening. I mean, it was just so amazing to receive any mail. So, Jonathan, good morning and evening too. Listen to KBS World Radio in English, Vietnamese, Indonesian on 9770, 9570 when signals are strong. Here we have in North America in the East Coast 15575 that comes in rather well. Kamikaze 76, someone did a YouTube video of North Korean television, and it's quite bizarre. Yeah, it is bizarre. But I've heard of a lot of people that have hidden radios to listen to foreign broadcasts. Danny Shortwave, what program or website do you use to design your QSL card? Actually, I used Word, Microsoft Word, and I just took a picture and put the text on it and made little boxes on the bottom, simply using Microsoft Word. And I've saved the file with all the dimensions that I wanted, and I just buy little on Amazon. I buy packages of picture. What is it? It's gloss picture printing paper, and just print my QSL cards on the small 6x9, or I don't remember the exact size, but I just put a bunch of those and just print them on my printer here. I got an EcoTank printer, so it costs almost nothing for me to print with that. The EcoTank printer from Epson, you just fill the tanks with ink. So, and I've got I buy on Amazon the the ink from another company that's like $50 for 3 bottles of color and 1 black, and that thing lets me print one kit of ink. Probably lets me print more than 5,000 pages of colored text, and it's, I mean, it costs nothing. It's like you do it yourself, and it's just, you know, cost me less to do it here than to go out and ask for, a printer to get me, 1,000 cards. So why bother? Works great. Since I got that printer, I mean, wow, it's just amazing. It costs nothing to print. Some of my friends sometimes they're like, "Oh, I'd like to have a copy or some documents," and they're like, "Well, they're charging me $10 for 8 pages," and I'm like, "Come here, I'll print them for you." Radio Kid says sometimes you get an almost real time response from shortwave stations if it's live. Yeah, it happens. Some of them are really quick. Pirate stations are kind of interesting because sometimes some of them that give an email are they're almost instant and mention you on the air or through HF Underground. I had a PL365 and a breadstick. I'm bringing home some baguettes with radios inside them. Justin, I love coming across a good ham conversation. It's a nice little window. The other parts of the world you would never hear about otherwise. Yep. Yeah. Hearing your voice on the radio. That happened to me with when, if you guys remember, when there was Radio St. Helena broadcasts once a year. I had called in back in the 90s, hearing myself on the radio. I recorded the conversation. Yeah, gloss card paper, and you've got some great deals on Amazon for like packs of 500 for almost nothing, and I just print them. And if I had a regular printer, like a regular inkjet printer that requires the cartridges, I would not do that. It would cost me a fortune. But the EcoTank printer, oh man, the best thing that ever happened. The printers cost a lot, but boy, does the printing cost you nothing. And mine has been, I've had my printer for 5 years, maybe now, 4 to 5 years at least. And it's always great. And I've printed several thousand pages with it. Yeah, GIMP. You can use a software like GIMP to do them. You can even do it, somebody that doesn't want to be too fancy. You could also use Paint. Microsoft Paint in Windows. It's perfect to do a simple task like that. You put your picture and you put your text and you put your stuff, and then all you do is save it and print it. Oh yeah, GIMP. It's like using Photoshop. It's like, yeah, do I put the layers and you use Word? You just like poop, poop, poop. There it goes. Oh, there's a lot of shortwave pirates, different gear TV. Actually, tonight is the night. There should be pirates. Tonight's the night. Going to be a lot of them. Yeah, there are quite a few shortwave stations that you can call in. Yeah, yeah. Oh man. So hey guys, I'm gonna say goodbye. We've been on for 3 hours. I got a lot of stuff to do. I got to go and cook supper, which will be pasta carbonara. Then I've got to edit the international radio report for tomorrow for CKUT, and I have to end and finish my my messenger utility column for the August. And any recommendations for a station to listen tonight? Well, first of all, try Pirates, around 6,800 to 7,000 kilohertz. What else we'll have? Well, you could listen to right now at zero UTC. There's going to be Radio Romania in English, 11620, 030 Radio Slovakia via WRMI on 15770. And of course, do a tour of the WRMI frequencies for all sorts of things. So thanks for being here, guys. It was always fun to be here. Remember, you can donate through the Super Chat or PayPal if you want to help out the Radio Fund. And here's the PayPal in case anybody wants to do a little something. Thanks for being here. Next show will be... hey, Jason Francis. Nice to have you here. Jerry Hart. Nice to have you here. So the next show will be September the 7th. September the 7th. So put that on your calendar. It's the first Saturday of the month of September. September 7th. 20 hours UTC. As we'll be moving slowly onto fall propagation. Summer's moving on, eh? It's pretty surprising. And September 7th. It's going to be interesting. So, how will we survive? Oh, Matt. And who knows, if I have time or anything going on that I could do one. There could be some surprise shows from time to time. So take care, guys. As always, glad to see you. Stay safe. Love you all, okay? Take care, guys.